Arknights Endfield is finally here. The game looks incredible, and the gameplay itself is a lot of fun to play. Despite being two different gameplay styles, there are many features, as well as amazing Easter eggs and connections to the original Arknights. And today, just for a lot of Arknights players who may not be willing to make the jump to Endfield yet, or maybe they're looking for some sort of familiarity, just to get them over that edge and show them that Endfield is similar and Endfield does have things to bring you in as well as a classic Arknights player, I'm going to showcase a little bit about those features just to maybe help you get that decision made if you want to give this a try or not. So we'll talk about what those features are, what is familiar between original Arknights that is carried over into Endfield, and what may be brand new in Endfield that original Arknights didn't have, but I think is a cool idea and feature implemented that expands the world, expands the characters a little bit more than what original Arknights did. We'll talk about that a little bit. However, one of the interesting things about the game is the game launched on mobile. Original Arknights has always been on mobile. And they're only just getting to the point where they're expanding into adding a PC client over in the Chinese server. However, Arknights Endfield has launched globally on consoles, on PC, and on mobile. But when trying to play the game on mobile, it's an absolute nightmare. My phone battery dies in about 20 minutes. The controls feel a little bit cramped, among some other issues that limit my experience. Today, I found the solution for that thanks to our friends at MuMuPlayer. I love playing games on my phone, but I find that Endfield's high-quality 3D graphics can turn phones into bricks. It gets your phone hot, laggy, and drains your battery instantly. The real-time combat is hard to handle on a touchscreen, with your fingers getting in the way of the UI and precise movement being difficult as well. Also, on a small phone screen, you miss out on the stunning open-world details and the character models. Not to mention the game file itself is huge. It takes up too much space on a mobile device, especially when most phones nowadays are very limited in space and don't have any ways to expand. That is where MuMuPlayer comes in. MuMuPlayer is an Android gaming emulator and is your best option to play mobile games on your PC. Like Arknights Endfield, transforming it into a legitimate PC RPG. It's 100% free to download with no ads, meaning no interruptions, just gaming. And here are a few fun features from MuMuPlayer. Customizable key mapping is a massive feature, allowing you to map your own keys and use WASD movement or the WASD keys and more. Look at how I can map my keys and use my mouse for camera controls as if I'm playing a native PC game. Another fun feature is that you can also run 240 FPS for smooth combat. It's perfectly optimized. I'm getting stable high frame rate with zero lag. Another awesome thing is that you can even run multiple instances of MuMuPlayer to have multiple games or accounts open at once. So if you're a gacha gamer or someone with a lot of daily logins to do on multiple games, this can definitely help. One of my favorite things though is that if you have a low-end PC that struggles or can't run native PC clients for your favorite mobile titles, MuMuPlayer runs smoothly and is very lightweight, making it perfect for those low-end rigs. Again, MuMuPlayer is completely free to download, no ads, no pop-ups, just gaming at its finest. If you want to try MuMuPlayer for yourself, you can click the link down below in the description, download it, install MuMuPlayer, and let's explore Arknights Endfield properly. Now for our video. Just as I said at the beginning, we're going to dive into these features and talk about them here. So we're going to look at a few key things in Arknights Endfield, starting with features that weren't in OG Arknights. So let's open the game, and I'm going to point out a few different things here as we go along. All right, so let's start by talking about a few features that are brand new to Arknights Endfield that are a little bit different before we get into those familiar ones. So number one, the first feature here that's a bit different from the original Arknights, being able to play as the essential main character of the story. Now, in the original Arknights, we had the Doctor character, but while we name ourselves and the story shows Doctor and we're kind of put into the shoes of Doctor and given the opportunity to fill that role through the story, we don't ever get to actually deploy Doctor into the field. However, right here in Endfield, The equivalent of doctor is this character right here, the administrator. And we get to choose at the very beginning of the game who you want to be. Do you want to be the male administrator or the female administrator? And the Endman is fully combat ready and ready to fight at a moment's notice. You have the ability to attack, the ability to change weapons and things like that for them, as well as skills and more. So Endman is fully playable and controlled by you, as opposed to just clicking through dialogue scripts and making some dialogue choices on occasion, like you could for Doctor in the original Arknights. Now, the other thing that is similar about them is the fact that they're both a mysterious character with some form of amnesia, so we're going to learn more about them as we go along, but that's pretty much where those similarities end. We begin to have the differences by actually being able to play as them and have them as a core member of our cast or our squad here. Now, as I mentioned, weapons are something that you can equip Administrator with, which brings me to my second new feature that is a bit unfamiliar. And that feature is just that, weapons. So, under the menu for your operators, you can go in and equip them with different weapons. And in this case, you can also level them up and upgrade them just like you would your operators. However, it's a whole separate thing as opposed to just being the operator themselves that you're upgrading, like in the original Arknights. And you can switch them at any time and have a whole roster of things. Now, each character comes with a default weapon, a very low level, very weak default weapon, but as you play, you can earn new weapons through either finding them in locations in the game or through quests, or there is the acquisition center, which you can go in and get passes and things that'll get you options to get weapons, as well as the arsenal exchange, which updates every so often, and you could find new weapons that you can purchase using this here, arsenal tickets. Now, arsenal tickets are gotten through headhunting and through the bundles through the acquisition center, as well as the protocol pass. So you have different ways of getting new weapons and equipping them to your operator or the administrator. Now, there are also some shops in game too that you can go and buy these weapons from. And after you buy a weapon, as I said, you go into the menu to see your operators, pick out a weapon. And in this case, we already have one, but let's just, for example, let's pick up this one here. You can go into the level up menu. And again, just like you would the operators themselves in original Arknights, you can use items, materials to upgrade your weapon and then eventually promote it to make it stronger. But once you're done with it and say you want to equip that weapon, you have an option to look at all your different stats and things over here and get an idea of what that weapon can do, what its maybe traits and features are, as well as attack power. Like this base attack is 120. This one's base attack is 100. This one's 120. But then once you have it picked, you select switch and you're done. But then again, weapon potential is also a thing, just like the operator potential in the original Arknights. By having multiple of the same, you can upgrade your weapons and give them more potential and make them stronger, being able to increase their level further yet. Now, another option here, another item that is a new feature that I want to talk about is gear. Gear is something that you can find and craft in Arknights Endfield and is brand new to the game. You didn't have gear in the original Arknights. So just like weapons, this is something different to equip to your operators. And these different items, like these armors, these gear sets, will increase stats for everything. HP, attack, defense, strength, agility, intellect, will, and they'll even provide special buffs. Again, these are able to be found in different item chests and things around the world, but you can also craft these through your crafting facilities, as well as here's the gear assembly, which you can get the materials for through the crafting facility and then go in and create. So you can create the different items, create the different armors and gloves, different gear. Here's a emergency compression core, an emergency communications device, heavy armor, gauntlets, gloves, all kinds of different stuff. And as long as you have the materials, you can craft this and then go to each operator and equip it. And now in this case, I have armor and gloves for her. And I don't have any particular kits or anything because I'm still early on in the game with this. But then, aside from just these parts of your gear kit, you can also equip tactical items from your inventory and give them a full outfit of gear, not just a weapon. So that's another fun thing that's a little bit different than the original Arknights. Now, one of the biggest differences here in our fourth feature that's new to this particular game versus the original Arknights is the open world 3D explanation and combat. Now, you're able to change your operator and your party, whoever you're mainly playing as, but you can go out and explore this wide and vast open world and just get into combat and experience so much versus the original Arknights, which is led little by little to you through the story, and it takes you into a place where you read the story, you jump into the level, you jump out once it's complete, you're done. Here, I can go around wherever I want and say I want to get into a fight. Here's a group of enemies. I can start fighting them at will, in the open, no problem at all. And they're finished pretty quickly. And then here's another set. Boom. And with that, we're done. But the point is, this world is free for you to explore as long as you unlock different parts of it as you go. Now, as you unlock and expand your map, expand your world, you could go into the map, you can see what parts you have open, you can even fast travel to different places and continue to explore once you have them unlocked. But again, this is something that allows you a degree of freedom versus the original Arknights where, again, you just had to go through the story, whether it was an event, whether it was the main theme, whatever, and play it stage by stage, read the story, jump into the stage, complete it, move out. Here, the whole world is your stage. You go anywhere to continue progressing the story, you follow your objectives, but you can go anywhere you want at any time here and see this vast and beautiful world and all the details it has to hold. And I think this open world combat is something just so much fun and enjoyable at any point in time, just to run around, engage in a fight wherever you want to be. And just have a blast with it. And it also, again, to freely switch operators, which is kind of similar to being able to deploy your operators at any point in time that you want. But it's still just one of those fun little things that you can play whoever you want at any time instead of having to control all the different operators on field at one point. Now, another little feature that isn't something that we're going to focus too much on, but is available in this open world, is resource gathering. You can find highlighted items like these here and go and pick them up and add resources and things into your inventory that you'll be able to use and craft items and things with. So you can go into your valuable stash and see all your weapons and so on and so forth. Different things that you have. That's basically your inventory, similar to what you have in the original Arknights. But then you can go into your backpack itself and see all these little resources that you have that you're picking up in the open world, as well as things that you're crafting. And there are little storage depots that you can drop this stuff off in and increase your space once again. But essentially, all these items and things are what you're picking up in the open world, and you can use them for crafting while you're on the go, or the more advanced crafting in the base building, and they help to create things like healing items and, well, your materials and things for further on in the game. So just another fun thing to talk about. And the last particular new feature that I want to talk about is your squad in this particular game. Now, your squad is not exactly the same in this game. In the original Arknights, you could have a massive squad of operators to be able to deploy into your field at any time to protect your base or for the tower defense portion of the game. For your squad in Arknights Endfield, you're only allowed to choose up to 4 operators. Now, what is neat, and this kind of goes back to our ability to play as our main character, our doctor character, or the administrator, is you don't have to have them in your squad. You can edit your squad completely and put whatever operators you want in there. So say I don't want him in, I could go ahead and uncheck him here and just pick anybody else that I want to put into my squad. And boom, there we go. Save team, and my team's changed. Now, going back out, as you can see, now we have our 4th member. It is not the administrator. It's somebody completely different on our team in Gilberta. But at any time, you just open up your menu, go into here, edit your team, and switch them on the fly. So you could switch them anywhere at any time and not have to worry about going to a specific portion or all the way back to the main menu or whatever you need to do. This is done on the fly wherever you go, which makes things a little bit easier. But the limit to your squad changes the dynamic of the gameplay a little bit more as well. So it kind of makes you play around with characters a little bit more and understand who you like, who you don't like, who you want to play as, how to compose and build your squad, which again is very similar to original Arknights, but you're just a little more limited in how many you have in your squad. Now let's talk about the features that are familiar and were translated over from OG Arknights that I think will add that level of familiarity, especially if, again, you're on the fence about playing this game as an OG Arknights player and you're not quite sure about all these different things, these different changes, the 3D gameplay, the open world, all these things might be throwing you off, but maybe you're just looking for that one thing that you want to know that is in the original Arknights that you love to do, you're familiar with, whatever the case may be, that little thing that might teeter you over the edge into maybe deciding to finally take the leap and trying Arknights Endfield. And one of the first things that we'll talk about is operator promotion and leveling. So every time you get an operator, you're able to level them up. You're able to increase their level just like in the original Arknights. So if you go into your menu, you can see where they're at. And right now, I am as high as I can as far as my level and what I can do with my characters because of my exploration level, which is as you explore, as you level up, as you increase and expand your map and find different parts of the world and whatnot, you'll increase your exploration level and be able to continue to improve and promote your operators and make them stronger. However, as you're going to a new operator, maybe you get a new one in your headhunting or something like that, you can find an operator that you haven't worked on and say you want to raise their level. So in this case, let's go with Gilberta. I've gotten her recently and I haven't been able to take the time to build her yet. You can go ahead and upgrade her in a similar way using these combat records just like you would get in the original Arknights. And you can also just do an autofill, which is simple. Pick everything you want, and there, I've upgraded her to level 20 already. Now, you can promote the operators as long as you have the specific items that allow you to do that, to promote them. Now, just like the original Arknights, you have the ability to promote your operators as long as you have the required materials. So that's the similar thing here. Now in Endfield, promotion is expanded. As you can see, there's all these little nodes and nodules and things to increase their talent and their abilities and more or less just improve their skills and different things, different stats overall. But the one difference with the promotion is you can go all the way up to Elite 4. In the original Arknights, we only went up to Elite 2. So that's kind of how promotion and leveling works in this game. And also, you can see here on this part of the menu that each one of these skills, these abilities, all have talents, all the ranks. So as you improve and continue to level up and work on your characters, your ultimate, combo skill, battle skill, and basic attacks will all increase in rank as well, up to mastery. Now here in the original Arknights, we'll look at that as well. So again, you go into your operators, you want to promote and level, let's go ahead and just pick somebody that I haven't messed with yet. In this case here, let's go with Gaviel the Invincible. I want to level her up, let's take her to level 50. Boom, there we go. Using these combat records and our money, we'll go ahead and level them up. And now if we want to promote, we just go into here and look and see, oh, I have all these materials minus this. Do I have enough in the workshop? No, I don't. So I would have to farm for those to be able to promote her to Elite 1. using a specific farming technique, or if there's packs available in the shop or whatever to get those materials. But the point is, that's how we go and upgrade the operator. And then potential is another thing. Just like in Endfield, in original Arknights here, both ways to increase your potential, you have to pull an operator multiple times in headhunting. As you get their tokens, you'll be able to increase their potential. And in here, in this case, you go into their potential menu, and as you see, one thing that's kind of cool and different about potential in Endfield is with each potential, you have different unlocks. So you get different rewards, basically, you know, stat upgrades and things like that. But in between, you can view these special art pieces, which have little blurbs about them on the back, which is just a kind of a neat feature that I think adds to the promotion and increasing the potential of your operator. So it's not just, you know, upgrading the stats and seeing the menu screen. You get some little bonuses along the way, which is kind of also similar to your operator record, I guess. But that's just a bit of fun about operator promotion and leveling. Now, the one thing that is also a feature that is new to this game, but I feel is in a way translated over from the original Arknights, is the base building. Now, I know what you're thinking. It's different, isn't it? But the way I look at it is as follows. Here's our base in the original Arknights, and while it looks a little bit different, we have our workshop, we have our dormitories and things like that, which are a little bit different from Endfield, but our trading posts, our factories, our power plants, all these different things are designed to generate resources in a way for us that we use in the game. And I feel like what they did with Arknights Endfield was translate this over in a little bit of a different way. So they took the concept of this and being able to go into the factory and produce different items. Like in this case, I'm producing gold, but I can do gold. I can do our battle records. I can do chips. I can do originium materials and things here in Arknights. In Endfield, it's just a little bit different. In Endfield, we can build different things. Like we have our core unit, but we have our refining units and shredding units and things that are all designed for creating and making different types of materials. And you can set up and build these particular units for whatever purpose, as many as you want, and you get to optimize it in your way. And there are many strategies from the original Arknights on how to build a base and how to properly work it so that you optimize it and get the most out of your materials and so on and so forth. In here, there are various ways to do that as well. And you could even create blueprints that others can copy if you feel you have a really efficient way to do it. But you can go into each of these units and craft certain items and manipulate them in different ways. So like I could take an item here from the refining unit over to the shredding unit, make powders and so on and so forth. But then I can also harvest materials around the base using an originium rig and things like that that I can then take to my base. And that's kind of the concept of farming from the original Arknights and bringing the items into the base to make your turn your shards into your originium and whatnot. But here we could build so much and expand upon our world by building these bases. But then there's other bases and things in the area that you can have these little small hubs in different locations that you'll be able to get materials from, or set up miniature bases and cores and stuff like that that allow you to do the same thing, produce items that you want for whatever purposes later on in the game. Now, there is a point later on in the game where you will get to go back up to the main ship. So like in Arknights, our main ship is Rhodes Island. That's where our base is and whatnot. In Arknights Endfield, it's the Dijon. And you're able to travel back to that. And there's different functions and things that are also available there that are very, very similar. So I'm so early on in the game that I don't have a lot of this kind of stuff done yet, but the concept of this base, these factories, these things that you can set up in Endfield is essentially the translation of the factory and the base in Arknights and expanded upon in a way that really allows you to get a bit more creative, and you're not limited to only so many spaces. You can really expand this area and set it up how you want it to and kind of make your dream base and factory with these items. So that's a feature that I feel is translated over, but just in a very unique way. Now, one other thing that I find that's pretty cool, another feature that I feel has been translated over very well and gives you a little bit of fun in terms of sorting your operators and deciding how to build your team, is your operator classes. Now, in original Arknights here, we have our Vanguard, we have guards, we have defenders, we have our snipers, casters, medics, supporters, and our specialists. So we have a whole range of different classes with their own unique traits and abilities and playstyles for building your team with. And it helps to usually have a variety of it, but for someone like me, at least on original Arknights, I've always been the type to really go with a heavy ranged game. So I will play with various snipers like Narantuya, Xuzie, Lemu, and Wishidel. Different characters like this are my higher end snipers. And then casters like Lapland the Decadenza, Ifiola, Logos, Nekras, Nymph. These are all ones that I've used as far as my casters. And of course I use ground game as well, and I'll use some characters like Mulesies who are a little bit of a trick because while they're a Vanguard operator, Mulesies does have the ability to use range, which is fun. Same with Vigil, but I'll also use characters like Texas, who is a short-range ground operator as a Vanguard, but also recovers your deployment points and things like that with her skills. So I'll use ones like that, and then I'll set up guards like Eggenbreaker for heavy damage, or Lapland for range, just to kind of, she's got the ability to use range or hit aerial units and things like that, plus her skill does heavy damage. I like using characters like that for my squad, but then I also like to use high level defenders like Shu or Yu, or even the new Hoshigumi the Breacher, which are a ton of fun to use, and depending on their skills also bolster my team. But then I'm still a very heavy user of snipers and casters because I love having that range and dealing high damage to anybody that comes in my way. Now in Endfield, we do have operator classes as well. So if you go into your operators and you take a look, each one has a different class. So as you can see here, right now, we only have 6 classes listed. We have Guard, we have Casters, we have Striker, we have Vanguards, Defenders, and Supporters. Guards are skilled at making enemies vulnerable and applying physical statuses. They're also good damage dealers. Casters are skilled at applying arts inflictions and arts reactions. They're also good damage dealers. Strikers exploit physical or arts effects inflicted by other operators to deal decisive damage. Vanguard, great at recovering skill points to help their teammates skill casting. Defenders are extremely tough. They're skilled in protecting and treating their teammates, as well as counterattacking the enemy. And supporters are skilled in applying various control effects that weaken the enemy. They can also buff and support their teammates. So as you can see, each operator has different classes. So Wolfguard's a caster, Akekuri's a Vanguard, Levitane's a striker, Ardelia's a supporter, our administrator is classified as a guard, Gilberta's a supporter, and then someone here like Snowshine is a defender. But what's cool about these is, in a way, they're a little bit different in how they're used here. You can see that each one has their own specialty of what the class does, which is, again, translated over very similar to the original Arknights. But they're designed a little bit more in a way to work together. So like, for example, the Striker exploits physical or arts effects inflicted by other operators. So if you want to use a caster as your main or something, you could inflict arts. You could do arts inflictions and things like that, cause different effects to the enemy, and the Strikers are going to rush in and deal damage utilizing that, exploiting that, which is kind of cool. Your Vanguards recovering skill points is similar, but that's just mainly to build up your casting. So if you want to use your skills more often, you could use a Vanguard along with anybody else, which is a lot of fun. Defenders kind of help to do some healing and stuff like that, but your defenders also act a little more as like a tank in this game, which is, again, very similar to original Arknights, but in this game, where the more 3D gameplay is, the more open world 3D combat, the way it happens is a bit different. Whereas your defenders are sitting in one spot with a block count in the original, in here in Endfield, they're tanking and taking damage. They're trying to hold out for you while you charge skills, while you set different things up and set up traps or whatever you want to do. However your gameplay style is, you can utilize a defender to take all that damage while you're preparing to enact your best plan of attack, and so on and so forth. Supporters, just like in the original, basically buff and debuff in a lot of different ways. So there's a variety of how you could build your team relying on these different classes. And more or less with each class, again, you're looking at a similarity to how they were in the original Arknights, but the one big difference here is the Striker. Again, you see that there were other classes in the original Arknights that aren't available here, but maybe in the future they'll be introduced, who knows? But for example, like our Striker here is brand new to Endfield. It's not something that was in the original Arknights. Maybe they'll cross over. Maybe Striker will become a new class in the original Arknights, and we'll see that in the future. And then some of those other classes, like Sniper, may come over to here. And you'll see some different long-ranged effects, maybe some gun-type weapons and things added in. I don't know. We'll see how they decide to move forward with things, because as of right now, the guns are pretty much your caster's weapons. So, as you can see, he's carrying the dual guns, which, you know, isn't too far-fetched in the sense of those being like arts units or casting units, because of, like, for example, Vigil's guns as a Vanguard in the original Arknights were actually casting wands as opposed to legitimate guns like what the Sancta use. So that's just a fun little thing to talk about when thinking about the classes and how their weapons work. But just that whole thought process of the classes still invokes, just like the original Arknights, of how to build your squad, how to put together a variety of classes to get the best effects out, and how to build your team. It's a fun little process there to go ahead and build the squad, build the team, and upgrade your operators and pick and choose who you want to play as. And everybody's different, but having those classes is just another fun, familiar little thing to add to the game. Now, just a couple more small features that I know there's going to be many more than what we're talking about today, but there's a couple more small things that I want to talk about that are a little bit familiar, that allow you to have an experience very similar to the original Arknights, despite these being two separate games. This next thing that we're going to talk about is the token or certificate exchange. Now, what I mean by that is when you do headhunting, headhunting is something that, of course, allows you to get new operators and add to your squad, add to your list of the operators that you own. But once you reach max potential, what happens to those certificates? In the original Arknights, once you have maxed out your operators in terms of their potential, you can go into the store and open up the certificate tab, and you can click the token exchange. And you could see distinction and commendation certificates and more. You can exchange those additional operator tokens for certificates that you can use to purchase items in the shop. Commendations, distinctions, and more can be used to get supplies, materials, operator tokens, operators themselves, and more. That's something that has been carried over into Endfield. Now, the way you exchange your certificates or tokens in Endfield is you're going to go ahead into the acquisition center and go into something like the quota exchange, and then down here, token exchange. So as you can see, these are all operator tokens that are beyond what I have as far as potential. I'm done. I have the max potential. So here's 10, 11, 12, 18, 20 tokens that I can convert into our AIC quota here. And once I do that, I can use that quota to exchange for items, including headhunter permits. So I can purchase headhunting permits or various other supplies, credits, and more in order to boost my operators, my team, to do whatever I need to improve in the game. So that's just something, it's a familiar situation, just like the original Arknights. It's not like the things are going to waste. They managed to build that system over here in a fun and manageable way. But it also goes into one of our favorite features that we haven't gotten to yet. How could we possibly forget about headhunting? Now in OG Arknights, in order to headhunt, you have to have your Arundum or Originite Prime. and you go into headhunting, or certificates, of course. And in this case, right now, we're featured on the Ave Mujica crossover banner, which is something where there's 3 new limited operators who are only available for this crossover, or you have your other banners where you can get the specific operators and featured and whatnot. But we're going to go in and headhunt for these limited operators just for fun. And again, as long as you have the certificates or you're a random or Originate Prime, you go in and you could do single pulls or 10 pulls to headhunt. And let's just see, what do we get? We got some 5 stars incoming here. And right off the bat, we got a single 5-star in Ponsirus. Let's continue to do a little bit of headhunting. I've got some certificates and stuff to use up, and I want to get these limited operators. Nothing but 4 stars. But we'll pull 10 at a time, which is something you can also do in Endfield. And again, we're gaining more tokens because I already have a lot of these operators. More 4 stars, my luck is not good while we're doing this video, but that's okay. We got plenty here to try to get what we need to out of this. And here we got one of the new limited operators, the specialist. That is Mutsumi Wakaba. We still have more certificates to burn. More 5s. Up, we got the other 5-star in Wika Misumi. I think that's how you pronounce that. I'm not sure. Let's keep going to see if we can't get the 6-star. Whoop. Are we gonna get it? Right off the bat. Let's see. Yes, we did. We got Sakiko. So, as of now, and we got an extra copy of her. As of now, we basically just got the entire new set of operators minus the event. We'll have 2 free ones that you'll get, and that is something that's very similar to original Arknights in the sense or I should say Endfield rather, is there are operators that you will be able to come across in the world as you explore, and you'll get to add them to your team, such as Wolfguard is one of the very first that you'll come across that will be added to your team as part of the story, as well as Chen Chanyu is another one. But once you add those, they're there, they're part of your team. That's cool. In here, in the original Arknights, you go into events or progress through the story and gain new operators as well. But Endfield also has headhunting. So let's go take a look at that. Now in Endfield, if you want to headhunt, of course, you go over here and you look for your different headhunting banners, just like the other Arknights. And in this case, you have basic headhunting, which I have a single permit for. So we'll go ahead and spend that. And it looks a little different because you just pull the handle. And you get this fun little animation in between, which is similar to the bag opening in the other game. But this little like drop pod comes in. And you get to see the different colors, which in this case, you see the blue, so that's going to be a 4-star. You get this.
Captain Akakuri of Operation Team Z7 reporting in. The operations dossier, budget summary, and action plan are ready for review. Which would you like to read first?
So, there's an example of our headhunting. Now, one of the things that allows you to do headhunting in this game, just like your original Originate Prime and a random in the other game, is you get your Geometry, which is essentially your OP. And then your Originate Prime, you convert that into, instead of a random, it's Aura Barrel over here. So once you have that, you can go to whichever headhunting banner you want. And just like original Arknights, you can convert your certificates over and convert not just your certificates, but your OP or your Geometry. Sorry, I can't speak. Get however much you need. And in this case, we're going to make sure that we have our 1500 essentially. We're short just a little bit here. Let me add one more in. And then now we have enough that we can use our 5 available certificates and the 2500 to do a full 10 pull. Now for the 10 pull for headhunting, you can see we're going to get something, at least a 5-star here. So our first pull there you saw was just a 4-star in the blue, but here you get a nice little look at how the color's different. And there's a little bit of a different end screen, which is kind of similar to how our original Arknights one was, where you saw the whole band of the operators. You get to see that in a pretty cool gallery style over here.
Captain.
Captain.
And here we go. Here's a 5-star.
Well,
We already have Avilena, so that's just gonna be a little bit of potential for her. But here's our gallery, and it's kind of cool because, as you can see, I'm getting bonus items and stuff here and whatnot. But then if you want to, which is a kind of a neat feature here, is you could go ahead and share this. You click share and it gives you could do a watermark or not, but it just shows your ID and stuff. You could save that to your device and then be able to share that to social media or whatever, which is just a fun little bonus. But you get that little gallery similar to doing the 10 pulls in the original Arknights. So that's just another interesting little thing about headhunting and how it's similar in both games. Now, the very last feature that we'll talk about today, that is, again, another basic feature that's in the original Arknights as well as in Endfield, that gives you that feeling of familiarity. The friends list. Now, in original Arknights, you have the capability of going in and you can add friends by searching up their ID, and then you have your friends list, which you can go visit their bases and so on and so forth, which is a lot of fun. And now, even recently, they've added this kind of like friends, these best friends kind of things, or you can add 5 to your favorites, essentially, which is just a fun little feature. But you can check out each of their cards, their details, their operators, and you could show off medal sets and more. So that's one thing that's present to give a social aspect to the original Arknights. And I believe they've translated that properly into Endfield and given it a little bit of an expansion. Over in Endfield, if you open up your menu once you get to this point, you can add friends as well. And the fun thing about it is you could create your profile in a similar way. You build your card, you can showcase operators, whoever you want to put out forward on your team. You can showcase your medals. I don't have too many yet, so I don't really have that filled out. And it shows some information about you, your ID and everything like that. Feel free to add me if you guys want to. You see my ID there, but you could change your profile picture just like in the other game. And then you could even change your profile theme once you have them unlocked, which is pretty cool. There's different themes with character artwork and more that just adds a element of fun to this. But I don't have any of them unlocked yet, but we'll get there. But it also shows you your operators, weapons, all this different stuff. But then what's cool is you could go in and add a complete stranger. So I'll just pick somebody here. This person here is level 28. Let's add them and see if they approve, whatever. But otherwise, you can go into your friends list and see them here, and you could sort them if you want to and all that stuff. You could even go and check your friend requests and see if anybody's added you. You'll get a little icon like this right down here. And then the one fun thing that I find about this, and what I feel expands on this a little bit more, is the fact that there's kind of a chat feature in here where you can go to each friend and you could send a message if you want to, which you don't really get to type the message, but you could go in and send something sort of generic. You could send these different little blurbs that they put in, or you could go in here and send a little sticker. So I'll send that in this case. So just a fun little additional feature. And then of course there's this also goes over in, and you have these in-game messages with the operators and so on and so forth. But with your friends, you have just a fun little chat feature, which is just a different way to socialize in game. It would be fun to be able to do a full-on typing and text chat, but I think I can understand why they don't have that implemented, and they just give you some basic stuff to do. But they also include a block list feature for the friends list as well. So if there's a player who maybe was a friend, but for whatever reason, maybe they're spam messaging you and you don't like it, so you decide you want to block them, you can, and so on and so forth. There's somebody you don't want to interact with. Okay. But if anybody's familiar as well with the game Death Stranding, there's a fun feature that kind of builds upon the social aspect of the friends list. And in Death Stranding, you were able to place items and things throughout the world that could be there and pop up in someone else's game, signs and things like that. You can have that in here as well, which also allows you to add those players as friends. So there's things like that happen in this world that is very similar to that game, which is strange, but I like the concept, and I think it adds to the world building as well. So you get to meet fellow Endmans that way and potentially build a friendship thanks to them helping you out in a way with a simple sign that just says enemies up ahead or whatever the case is. So That's just another fun thing. And again, I like this chat feature, but overall, the friends list is just another added little additional piece of familiarity if you're looking to jump ship from the original Arknights over. And you could find friends that can help you and send you some blueprints and stuff like that for your base. Who knows? That can just add to your fun. So, as I said, there are some brand new features to Arknights Endfield that build upon the world and make it its own unique game, but there are still some things that are carried over from the original Arknights that add some familiarity for players that have been around for a long time playing the tower defense version of the game. But maybe you want to explore this world and the lore and see how they connect. Maybe you want to know more about the characters, especially some of these familiar ones like Levitain or Gilberta, who look awfully familiar. Cough, cough, Surtur, and Angelina, as well as many others that may pop up in the future that, well, who knows who's going to come into this world that might be very, very similar or look like somebody we love. And maybe we're hoping for one specific Lapland. Anyways, but if you want to explore the world and you want to learn more about Arknights Endfield, but you're an OG player, and maybe this isn't your cup of tea as far as the gameplay, at least now you can see that there are some similar things that may help bridge that gap for you and help you jump over, at least to learn a little bit more about the game or give it a try to find out if it's something that you like. If not, there's always going to be people around that'll be able to play on stream or on camera or something, as well as chronicleize the lore and more into websites and things for you to gather that information that you want. But I think there's enough here to give you that familiar feel and make you really see that this is still Arknights despite it being presented in a different way. So let me know what your favorite feature is for anybody who is an OG Arknights player that is getting into Endfield and enjoying the game so far. What's your favorite feature that has been translated over? I know there's many more that are coming that I haven't quite gotten to show yet. Today we just went over a few different things, but the rest you guys can explore the game and find out for yourself. But if you have a favorite that is present in both games, what is it? Let me know in the comments and we'll talk about it. And for those of you who maybe you're Endfield and you haven't played the original Arknights, what would you most like to know about the original Arknights? Maybe I can help point you to the lore. Maybe other Arknights players can help show you through our videos, through our content, and more. And we can get everybody together and have a good old lore party, telling and teaching and explaining and getting everybody up to speed so that you know what's going on and what's being talked about and why certain things are the way that they are. There's much more to this world to explore, and we're going to have a lot of fun here on the channel doing so. And I hope you guys will join along with me. Please make sure to like the video, subscribe if you're new to the channel, and for now, that's it for this one. We will see you all next time.